Hello everyone. As we are nearing the end of the civil year 2022, everyone is asking what sort of year we are going to have next year. And my very short answer is whatever we are going to create. It's always like this. The outside reality is really some sort of projection of our inner reality. Never forget this. So if you are hopeful and are willing to work hard and put a lot of energy and effort and thought into your deeds, you're going to have a great year, no matter what the astrologer tells you. There may be very, very big difficulties, and obviously we are running into a difficult year, of course, but how you will operate on your individual level is going to rely on your own individual choices. This is a transitory year. When we look back to 2022, you may remember that the key word for that was, in my vocabulary at least, was that everything is going to depend on your own choices. Whatever choices the world is going to make, whatever we are going to decide is what will affect our destiny for a long time. And this is exactly what happened. And if you look back on the main narratives before year 2022, there were three main narratives. One was virus. Of course, this was all over between 20 and 22. The other one was migration, which was on and off. It was very valid in 2015 in Europe. It became very valid in 2022 in the United States. But it's a catchword on and off. Obviously, there's a very dark agenda behind migration, controlled migration, and replacement migration, as I call it, and not just I call it. Go to the UN website, un.org, and look for the document sometime in 2003. Where they explain how we need to replace the European population into a mixed race population, and it gives you the reasons why. So it's not a conspiracy theory, it's actually a valid theory propagated by the UN. So migration was the second main off-and-on feature of the last couple of years. And then, of course, climate is another catchword. Again, it's a narrative that they try to push upon us from time to time, sometimes more vehemently, sometimes less. But again, it is a recurring theme. And incidentally, all three names, all three labors are the same in every language in the world. So these are the three catchwords that everyone understands, no matter what language he or she speaks. And then in 2022, a four narrative entered our psyche, which was war. Here, war in Europe, war in Ukraine. If we accepted the notion of Fukuyama, who said that with liberal democracy, we reached the end of history, it was a spectacular fall because no, we didn't reach the end of history. Unfortunately, there's a war in our backyard. It is a Russian-US war, really, in reality, fought on Ukrainian land. And my heart goes out for the people who are suffering at the moment. But at the same time, this war will end only and if and when the big powers decide that it has to end. So these are the four narratives of the past couple of years and the year 2022. All four narratives are present. And when I looked into the next year and try to start making assessments, what kind of year it's going to be, I was also interested whether or not these narratives are going to continue. And of course, they will continue, although I can tell you now that the main narrative will be climate. So the next year, 2023, is going to be about climate. That will be the big global narrative. I don't really like about a lot of things, but this is going to be a big hoax, let's put it this way, because no matter what we do, we can't change the climate. The climate changes itself. it's not linked to human actions. If you think about how to save the environment and how to not throw out things and stuff, and how to try not to pollute your surroundings and your waters and everything, that's a valid point. But you can't change the climate. Don't even dream about it. Okay, so this is what I have done. I have prepared a PowerPoint for you this time, and so this is just this is going to be just a very short karmic astrological snapshot of the year, and for that I'm going to look at the year ahead. This is for London. I did this in Hungarian as well, but it's for Budapest, and unless you speak Hungarian, you won't be able to understand it. This particular one is for London. So this is the London chart. And there are some interesting features which we are going to take apart. But I also have to tell you that I'm, as an astrologer, I'm always a little bit at a loss, and kind of I feel funny about taking a look at a chart that is always starting on January 1st, always starting at 0 hours and minutes, so at midnight. And so no matter what you do, the sun will always be around the IC, and there will always be a Libra rising. So these features are never changing, simply because it's a set time and date when we commence the new year, when the new year commences. And if you look around in nature, nothing commences at all. So January 1st, here in the middle of Europe, you usually have 0 temperatures. At the moment, we are very lucky because it's a milder December we had so far. And it continues in the first couple of days of the new year. But already we had a very cold spell in the United States. There was a horrible winter storm in London, and also England. There were minus 15 centigrade. So there were already very cold days and snow and frost. So, but of course it's winter, so nothing really starts, nothing really commences. But the only thing that really commences is the date. So if we take a look at the time, the date itself, 2023, what is immediately obvious that if you add up the date itself, you get a 7. And in the tarot, the 7 is the Chariot. It's a funny card because the Chariot suggests that, yes, you're leaving your hinterland and you are starting off on a new course, and you want to win, you want to be happy about it. If we look back into history, and it was the Hyksos kings who started to use the Chariot as a weapon. Well, it was about 3,000 years ago, and they effectively won wars against the Egyptians, and the Egyptian empire came to a certain end because of this particular invention, the Chariot. But if you look at the card itself, this card doesn't move. You see the Chariot from a front picture. It doesn't move. There are sphinxes instead of horses. They are just resting on the ground. They're not going anywhere. And at the same time, the guy who is trying to make this Chariot move has the starry sky as a canopy above his head. So, the stars are always, the wishing stars, what are you wishing for? What would you like to achieve? So this particular year is a preparation year when you can actually think about what you would like to do, what you would like to achieve, where you would like to reach with your Chariot, and wish for the stars. You have some desires, and in this way, you will be able to set off. So here's the London chart at 0 hours and 0 minutes on January 1st. And as I said, the Libra rising and the Capricorn IC with the sun on the IC will always be there. Now, if you take a really good look at the position of the sun, because of the zones, the time zones, this particular space-time moment, the sun is still on the previous day. It's on the IC, but not yet in the third house. So it's still going down to the underworld, so to speak. That's always the case in London. For instance, in the Budapest chart, we have a third house sun on the IC, and it's already rising. So, you know, just keep this in mind that in the London chart, you still have the previous day, technically speaking. There's a very, very tight Venus-Pluto conjunction, really tight, suggesting that big money and big power are united in this year. This doesn't sound too good. There's also retrograde Mercury, suggesting that we need to look inward. We need to find answers inward. We have a Taurus moon, which is at a very unique position, which I'm going to show you in a minute. There's also a Juno-Neptune conjunction, indicating that we need to create alliances, Juno, and we need to also pay attention to our partners and need to infuse these partnerships with universal love if possible, but also Neptune, of course, always signifies deception as well. So this is a very strong Neptune, and everyday life deception, since it is in the 6th house, can be also with us this year. Again, I want to emphasize that I'm just going to delineate this January 1st chart. There's a number of other features that we are going to look at over the year as the year commences and then sets off, and then we will have some ideas. A lot more can be gleaned about the, of course, the vernal equinox, which we are going to look at as well as it nears, and also at the eclipses of this year. But let's concentrate on this particular chart. There's also the Uranus North Node conjunction. The North Node in Taurus suggests that we need to create harmony. We are still in the process of trying to create some sort of harmony, some sort of monetary, financial security, some sort of basis for our life. But Uranus disrupts this. But at the same time, the conjunction, which is it's actually going to separate soon, suggests that we can renew our destiny choices, which is more important than disruption, I think, to concentrate on renewal. Ceres is rising on the ascendant, so our home and family will be very, very important. And Chiron on the descendant suggests that the war is continuing, unfortunately. And there are two out of the personal planets. You have two retrograde planets, both Mercury and Mars are retrograde, which means we need to reach inward. We need to find answers inwardly. There's also a dark moon Lilith, asteroid Lilith conjunction in the 12th. So curses and revolt against injustice are relegated in the hidden house of the 12th. Okay, let's take a look at the hemisphere emphasis. Well, normally this is the case that we have a big emphasis on the below the horizon hemisphere, obviously, because it's a midnight chart. So you always have the sun, the Mercury and Venus below the horizon. And in this particular chart, Mars and Venus are above the horizon. So it gives you a more balanced energy pattern. But it means that, again, we are finding things underneath the horizon, hidden in ourselves, but we can take things out in the outer world and we can actually look at it as well. There's also an emphasis on the Western horizon. There are 11 ruling planets on the Western horizon and only just one on the Eastern horizon. So again, a lot will depend on how we can cooperate with others, how we can engage in activities and answers with others. All the personal planets are on the Western horizon. If we look at the modalities and elements, again, there's always a cardinal emphasis in the January 1st chart because there's a good chance that both the Sun and Mercury and sometimes even Venus are in Capricorn. This is the case this year. At the same time, Jupiter is already in Aries, Pluto is still in Capricorn, Chiron is in Aries as well. And again, as I said, the ascendant is always in Libra. So the Sun, Mercury, and the ascendant are usually in Cardinal. But here again, there's a 7. We find 7 items in Cardinal. So certainly a go-getting, commencing energy is there. There are only 3.5 fixed, but we do have the moon in fixed signs and the nodal axis as well. So there's a nice blend of cardinals and fixed. If we take away the fact that the Sun and the ascendant are always in cardinals, the discrepancy is not that big. And only 2 immutables, the retrograde Mars and Neptune. So changes are not, and flexibility are not at our disposal too much. We have to work with whatever we have. Also, if you take a look at the elements, there's usually an earth emphasis, again, because the Sun and Mercury are usually in Capricorn. But at the moment, both Venus and Pluto are in Capricorn as well. So there are 4 Capricorn planets. And then the Moon and Uranus are in Taurus. So there's a nice emphasis on Earth. There's only 2 fire, and here it should be noted that whenever you only have 1 in an element, but that one is Chiron, that it's a wounded element. But also when there's only 1 planet, and that planet is Jupiter in an element, then you can say that, okay, that's enough, because Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system, and we don't need more. In this case, we have both. So yes, there's the fire, Aries, Chiron, showing that the wounds of war are still continuing. But at the same time, Jupiter both enlarges this energy, but also infuses it with some sort of hope or enthusiasm. There's only 3 air. As I said, the ascendant is always in air, so that's not too much. And water is only 1.5, but at least the south node is in water, so we don't really need more. Okay, this is Hungarian. I don't know why I left it in here, sorry. Anyhow, okay, so there's a Capricorn stellium. Last year it was even bigger because we had 2 more planets and Pallas Athena in Capricorn. In this particular chart, you have the Sun, Mercury, retrograde Mercury, Venus, and Pluto only there, but still a stellium. So there's a big emphasis on the desire to stabilize and build solid structures. And the moon phase, we have a first quarter moon phase, and the moon is in Taurus, as I already said. The moon phase kind of supports this desire to create structures, because first quarter is about building things, about creating new structures, about creating new potentials as well, both in the physical and in the figurative sense. And as you can see, there's a lot of emphasis in Pisces, Aries, and Taurus. The actual distance between the Sun and the Moon are 113 degrees and 37 minutes, but it's still the first quarter cycle. There is a very interesting crown, which is made up by a mystic rectangle and a so-called harmonic triangle. The mystic rectangle is made up by the nodal axis and the midheaven IC plus the sun. The sun illuminates the whole, and the top of this crown is Vesta. So this suggests that we need to focus. It's very important in this year, in year 2023, that we focus on stuff. We have this very limited scope where we are only shown just a fraction of reality, and that reality is also kind of distorted all the time. And it's important to question everything that you are seeing and focus on whatever is around you. If you look at the transcendental celestial objects, in the London chart, you have Alhina and Mepshuda, two fixed stars. Alhina is great because it is it's a star that is both on the Milky Way and on the ecliptic. It is the foot of one of the celestial twins in Gemini, and it gives you the potential to move forward, to go ahead and move forward. Of course, for at least 144 years, we will always have Alhina and Mepshuda on the midheaven in the London chart. I'm just letting you know that these fixed stars are moving only 1 degree per every 72 years. And if you allow 1 degree applying, 1 degree separating 4 fixed stars, then it's 150 years scope when we will have these. And Mepshuda is the knee of one of the, I think it's Castor's knee. And the knee is always signifying whether or not you are able to bend the knee and to who you bend the knee. The North Node has Pan and Albion. Pan means two things. In Latin, Pan is, actually in Greek, that little figure with the horned figure who is trying to chase nymphs in the woods. And whenever he starts screaming or crying, everyone is like totally frightened. And yes, panic, the word panic comes from its name. But at the same time, pan in Latin means also everything, totality. So it can have two impacts. If you were scared in your life, you know what I'm talking about. It can give you two types of behavior. Either you totally freeze and you are unable to move out of panic, or panic can give you a lot of energy, a lot of extra boost by which you will be able to overcome whatever you can, whatever is necessary. And Albion is a figure in William Blake's mythology. He is the creator of mankind on the British Isles by cutting himself into 4 equal pieces, creating the 4 aspects of humankind. And this is also creation through, not really dissection, creation through cutting things up evenly, and by that creating something new. So that's Albion, and this is on the south, on the North Node. These are our tasks for this life. On the South Node, you have Psyche, of course, the soul, and 2 fixed stars, Alphecca and Acrux, which I'm going to show you in detail. And on the Sun, you have Adonis, Karma, and Titania. Titania is linked to Atlantis. Karma is, of course, Karma, and Adonis is love, beauty and love. So that's what we would like to achieve this year. On the ice, you have Phasias. Another important fixed stars, it is another knee, interestingly enough, and the knee of the celestial centaur, Sagittarius. And no, sorry, no, Phasias is the head, the nebula in the head of the celestial archer. And it symbolizes that you have insight into things that are otherwise hidden. So it gives you the insight. And on Vesta, you have Hannibal, a general, Atlantis, another Atlantean asteroid, suggesting both Titania and Atlantis suggest that we need to reach back to those times and realize that this could also be an end of time. You will see why in a minute. And then Nessus, which is one of the psychopath centaurs, unfortunately, he is also present. And Nessus always links black magic to healing. If you research the story, you will understand why, because it is mixing blood with semen and with the Hydra's poisonous blood. So it's a mixture of poison, deadly poison, and the 2 most important tools of magic, semen and blood. And actually it provides the final resurrection for Hercules, who is actually saved by it finally. And There's another structured karmic trapeze, kind of using the same, I included the nodal axis and the sun, because we always give the sun a little bit bigger orb. And I included Mars and Chiron into this. And this karmic trapeze has two quincunxes inside, so that the inner energy pattern is quincunxes, also the base. And the top is a square, suggesting that it will be very difficult to remain on the top, to remain on the stage and show what we have. On Chiron, you have Hel, the underworld goddess of the Norse mythology, Gaia, Mother Gaia, of course, our Mother Earth, and Leila Kuhona, which is a Hawaiian mythological bird. Which the Leila Kuhona is an extreme TNO, and it shows the soul's desire to fly home to the earth plane, to feel good about the earth plane. And that is wounded at the moment by those four narratives, those four global narratives that are constantly pushed into our faces and scaring us and trying to regulate us through fear. Now, I promised to show you Alfaka and the crux. In my previous videos, you probably saw this already, but let's take a look at it again. Alfaka is a northern hemisphere star. It's the alpha star of Corona, the northern crown, Corona Borealis. And it describes the crown, the bridal crown of Ariadne. And if you read the story of Ariadne and Dionysus, you will find the most beautiful story, love story of Greek mythology. So it is the feminine happiness, feminine creativity, fertility. And then Akrux, which is Alpha Crux, which is a southern constellation. It's a beautiful, bright constellation, the Southern Cross. And it signifies the acceptance of the crust of matter, to coming down to the earth plane, accepting the difficulties of human life. So really, these two stars, which are at the same degree, astrological degree, about 11 to 12 degrees Scorpio, which are at the moment on the South Node, really describe the dilemmas of existence, whether you are going to suffer or whether you are going to feel good about your existence. That is your choice. And for that to understand, you need to tap into the past, because the South Node carries these two stars. There's also a complex planetary picture around 22 to 24 degrees in the January 1st chart. And you can go ahead and take a look at what we have. There's a cardinal T-square involving the Mercury Pallas Athena opposition. So again, you have the dilemma of rational thinking and creative thinking, or feminine thinking, at the apex of which there is Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances. There's also a boomerang involving Aries, Saturn, and the Neptune-Juno conjunction opposite asteroid Lilith. And there's also a cardinal Earth engine involving Lilith, Mercury, retrograde Mercury, and Aries in Aries. So those are the main features. And if we take a look at the transcendental celestial objects, on Pallas Athena, you have Rhea, another mother goddess, and Castor, one of the celestial twins. Interestingly, this is the alpha star of Gemini, but it is rapidly fading. So at the moment, Pollux, which is actually brightening, Pollux is the beta star. It is actually brighter than Castor. But Castor represents the happy and creative and lucky, successful author or artist. On Saturn, you have Nashira. I'm going to show you Nashira in a moment. Minerva, Metis, and Lachesis. Lachesis is the middle of the fates, who is measuring your lifespan. Metis is the goddess of wisdom, and Minerva, another goddess of wisdom. So you have three important goddesses in this chart. Pallas Athena, which is quincunx in Saturn, and on Saturn you have Minerva and Metis. On retrograde Mercury, you have three centaurs, and you may remember that centaurs are describing our karmic wounds and how to heal, how to come out of it. And these three are interesting because they represent different aspects of wounds and healing. Around is how you can actually live your life happily on the earth plane. Hylonom, on the other hand, is unconsolable grief, really deep grief. And then Clotho is another of the fates. It's the first one who is actually creating the threads for your lifespan. On Juno, you have Diana, the goddess Diana, the goddess of woods and animals. On Neptune, you have Horemheb, who is one of the generals of Egypt. Actually, he was Tutankhamun's general. Tutankhamun, sorry, you pronounce it differently. He was, and he actually inherited his throne, and he came from a slave and elevated himself first to a general and then to pharaoh himself. And Markab, again, is a star which we are going to look at in a second. What else is there? Yes, and on what on Lilith, you have Prometheus, the way to think ahead, to know what's going on, to be first 3 steps ahead of time. That's something that you need for this year. And Sisyphus, showing that it's going to be a little bit futile, but difficult at best. And then what I circled is, what scared me a little bit is the fact that Aries, drastically altered outward circumstances, has both Saturn and Nagasaki, besides Memphis. Memphis is the power energy, the power structure, but Saturn is destruction, and Nagasaki, of course, is nuclear destruction. Yes, the war, the disruption of our own lives, the harmony and well-being and stability that was created post Second World War in Europe is totally disrupted, and it is going to continue, unfortunately. So that's what I can show you here. And here are the stars of the configuration. So you see, here's Castor, and then Nashira is a star. It's the gamma star of Capricorn in the curve of the tail, the curved tail, which symbolizes the fact that we need to kind of push back into ourselves. We need to find inner resources. We need to keep what's there. We won't be able to really grow this year financially. What we need to try to do is save whatever we have and protect whatever we have. And then Markup, of course, is Alpha Pegasus, which is the flying horse, which also signifies ideas that are coming out of your head. Yes, there's also another, which I call platform. This is really a flat trapeze at 2-3 degrees. It is not really a trapeze because the sides of it is only are made up by semisextile, so it's just a tiny step. But the top is very broad. It is a trine, so you can actually show off. And what is interesting in this trapeze, that the moon and Jupiter are involved in it, and also trans-Pluto and Ceres. Ceres, the nurturing principle, trans-Pluto, dimension jump, the moon, the people, okay, or your own soul, and then Jupiter, of course, which is expansion and luck and hope and all kinds of good stuff. And the funny part here is that you will have a number of really bright fixed stars and some galactic points, and a very interesting fixed star on the moon. Let's take a look at those first. Curb, which is Tau Pegasus, which again, Curb was on Jupiter, is, as you can see, is at the flank of, or not the flank, but at actually at the leg of the horse, which indicates that although Pegasus is a flying horse and uses his wings to reach whatever it wants, sometimes even a flying horse needs to go below one level and you utilize something what is more mundane. And that's exactly what we need to do at the moment in this year. And then Nodus 1 is one of the stars in Draco, and the whole constellation Draco is a some sort of, well, of course the dragon is some sort of keeper of treasures. Now these could be real treasures, physical treasures, okay, but also spiritual treasures. And Nodus is in one of these curves, one of these rings of the celestial dragon, showing that we need to keep those treasures. And on the moon, which is at 3 to 4 degrees Taurus, you have MESARTHIM, and MESARTHIM is the gamma star of Aries. It's not particularly bright star. I think, as far as I remember, it's 4.5 magnitude, so it's not really bright, but still it's the gamma, so it's the third brightest star in the constellation Aries. And it was called for a long time the first star in Aries, despite the fact that it's not very bright, because in 400 BC, this was at the Vernal Equinox, and it signifies a change of era. So there's a new era commencing in 2023. What it's going to be, we won't actually see in its entirety until Neptune moves into Aries with Saturn. So there's going to be a Saturn-Neptune conjunction sometime in 2025, I believe in May, when they are going to be conjunct at the first degree of Aries. And that's going to be the new era, really, when it's really starting. So these 2 years, upcoming 2 years, 2023 and 24, are the transitory period when we'll have to let go of whatever was in the past, post-Second World War era, and we need to find new resources and new chances and new potentials. So that's MESARTHIM. And let's go back to one of the slides for you to see it one more time. Not this one, sorry. Yes, this one. As you can see, Trans Pluto, which is dimension jump and also channeling, has two galactic points. One is the Medusa merger, and the other one is the Cat's Eye Nebula. Both are at 3 degrees Virgo. And here they are. And so I think they are beautiful. These are NASA pictures, of course. So this is the Medusa merger. As you can see, there's a huge galaxy eating up a tiny galaxy, but this tiny galaxy has a lot more stars in it. So this is a very, very bright and star-studded galaxy, which this huge monster is eating just up. What does this suggest to you? Exactly what you see, that our resources, our potentials, our talents are eaten up by this huge, monstrous thing, which can never have enough resources, and that's why they need ours. And then the Cat's Eye Nebula, which is a beautiful nebula. And again, what is Cat's Eye? Yeah, cats are interesting creatures. They are domesticated, but they have their own free will, and they like to be cuddled when they want to be cuddled. Otherwise, they just hiss at you, and they even can use their little fangs and what do you call them? Talons? No, the birds have that. Whatever. So the paws. And a cat's eye sees in the dark, and actually sees where we human beings don't see. So this suggests, and also Medusa is the head of the monster. Okay, so you have a lot of suggestion that now we need to look behind the curtain, we need to look into the dark, we need to try to find and assess situations which we have not encountered before, and we won't be able to do it unless they have insight. Here is, by the way, the Medusa merger. There's another picture here showing from a different angle what is happening. Here's the tinier galaxy and this big monster eating up the tiny star-studded galaxy. And there goes our hopes and dreams, so to speak. Here it is in the close to the constellation Big Dipper, between Vecta and Merges, right here. And this is really the fusion of galaxies, but just like a fusion, a merger in the economic world or in the financial world, the big fish is always eating up the little fish. And although the little fish may have a lot more potentials, it could be much brighter, could be much more full of talent, still the big one is eating it up. And this is on Trans-Pluto, as I said. And here's the Cat's Eye nebula. This is a planetary nebula. In the curve, again, it's in Draco, the celestial dragon, and it's again in one of the curves. One of the, it's kind of cushioned with the stars of the celestial dragon, and again signifying that we might find treasures, hidden treasures, but we need to look. We need to look, and we need to see for ourselves. And here are the key phrases for 2023, not just based on the commencement chart of the new the new civil year. This is just the civil year. The solar year is coming at the Vernal Equinox, which I haven't even started to show you yet. It's already much longer than usual. Whatever. I hope you will still find it interesting. Anyhow, here are the key phrases for 2023. This is an introductory year of a completely new era, so it's a year of preparation. Do it like that. Use it for your preparation. There will be a lot of chaos and uncertainty, even more than we had in the past 2 years, 3 years. There will be social unrest, and it actually will intensify, and it may lead to eruptions, revolts, and even civil wars. I'm not very happy about what is happening in the United States. There's a lot of unrest over there that is not dealt with in a proper way, and it might be escalating, unfortunately. It's also a year of asking questions and facing enigmas and uncovering stuff that is hidden. So dare to ask questions, dare to research stuff, go behind the screens, look, use your cat's eye, look into the darkness and try to find the answers there. It's also a year of learning new skills and tactics. Try to talk to your grandmother, your mother, anyone who lives in the country, or who lives under harsh circumstances, or who already experienced true hardship in their lives. You may not be able to use your smartphone, because if there's no electricity, you won't be able to charge your smartphone. The internet may be down. You need books. You need wise people around you. You need people who know what to do under harsh and difficult circumstances. So you need to learn. Keep those things in your focus. And also, it's very important to have keen focus in general and clear thinking as well, because that's the only thing that can actually save you from this this transitory year when we are shifting from one age to another age. And this age will be very, very different from what we created so far. The powers that be clearly want to disrupt what they have put together in the last 60, 70 years in the post-Second World War era. And the new era is coming, and we don't really see yet what it is going to be like. But I would like to emphasize it's going to be like what we create in ourselves. So just if you keep fear-mongering and you keep your negative emotions and you keep attacking other people, besides or instead of sitting down, listening to everyone and thinking for yourself and asking the valid questions and listening to different answers, you need to leave your own bubble, because it's not going to save you, and you need to learn new skills. That is the task for 2023. At least this was one portion of it, and I will show you the rest, which kind of points to the same. So happy 2023. Be strong, be wise, ask questions, and be happy. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.